Hey everyone, leader Dorset Spur back again for another video. I know it's been a while. I've actually been really contemplating whether to bother continuing to do videos. Not that I'm looking for any kind of sympathy or anything like that. I just, the way social media is at the moment, I've just really been struggling with it, and the opinions of people has been quite difficult. And I was talking to one of my subscribers, a friend, Dell, who you know you are, Dell, and he said to me, "What are you not doing any videos?" And I said, I don't know, I'm just falling out in love with it, and I didn't feel like it was kind of having any purpose. And he made me think about, why am I doing it? Why do I do it? So I actually do it basically to vent and to give my opinion, and to basically get it out of my head and share it. And if people agree with me, then they do, and if they don't, then you get a little bit of banter and a little bit of discussion about it. So I've kind of let you all down, those that regularly watch, so apologies for that. But so I'm just sitting in my hotel in London because I'm away working, and I thought, you know what, let's do a video and give an opinion about the game on Sunday, because wow, what a game that was. And one I probably, if I put my hand on my heart, would say I didn't really see coming. Before the game, I'd kind of resigned myself to probably losing somewhere around 3-1. And that was only really because I felt that we are so under strength, and City are such a good side, that the constant bombardment of the defence would be too much for the guys to actually put up with and overcome. And to be fair, watching the first half, I did kind of think, this is where it's going. When Son scored the goal, I was, wow, what a goal. Sonny, what a goal. Surely Ederson will be thinking to himself, I should have been doing better there at my near post. But great ball over from Hill, and great pass from Kulusevski, and to get him away. Having the foresight to head of the ball and then just kind of get that pace against the City player. I can't think what his name is now. It's gone. But the new guy anyway. And to get away from him like that and bury it the way he did, I thought fantastic. Fantastic play, because we were under the cosh. Haaland was clearly off the pace. He missed a couple of really good opportunities which could have buried us, and by the time it was turned around and 2-1, I was kind of thinking to myself, you know what, if we can get in at half time at 2-1, and hopefully Ange can pull something out of the bag, he can kind of get into them and so on, and he did, and obviously the rest is history. Going, getting, Lo Celso getting the second goal, and well taken, to be fair, and Son running across like that kind of pulled the defender away. But in my mind, I was thinking at that point when he goes pass it to Son, but actually it opened up the space really well. And Lo Celso gets 2-2, which is really, really cool to see, because I've been a critic of Lo Celso over his time, because I've always felt like he's a good player, but he just doesn't seem to turn up. And then when he came in for the match against Fulham that we lost on penalties in the League Cup, it kind of spoke volumes to me. I was like, he's gone, mate. He's just not gonna. It's not going to happen for him. He's not going to be the player that we really, really want. So all the talk about him staying was quite surprising. But with Maddison out and him coming in, he looks a good replacement. He's worked hard, and his work rate has been far better. His interest in the game has been far more, and then adding a couple of goals to it really kind of says, well, actually, there's a player in here, you know, and maybe he has been suffering with the injuries and so on, and this is a good opportunity for him to really show what he's got with Maddison being out. So, as well as obviously Bentancur. So interesting to see whether he actually stays beyond the January, you know, maybe to the end of the season or whatever, and see where we are there. But I can't, you know, I have to hold my head up and say, or hold my hands up and say, you know, he's done really well, and I don't really want to lose him at this moment in time. Equally the same will be said for me, certainly, around Højbjerg, who I think has been so professional in his approach. He's kind of taken it on board, the fact that he's not a, you know, guaranteed starter, and he has to work for his place and so on. And he's been really professional about it. He's not complained, he's not moaned, he's not sulked or anything like that. Whenever he's been brought on, and he's been brought on an awful lot, even from a substitute, so he's getting a fair amount of minutes as well, which he's got to be happy with, considering he's not been classed as, you know, starting 11. But he's really done quite well, been professional and worked really hard, and done what's been asked of him. And I don't think you can ask any more than that. So again, another player who I think probably need to keep hold of until we can replace him with someone better, if that's going to be the case, right? Because he does bring that little bit of security when you really need it. You know, I know we want to be out and out attacking and so on, but there comes a time in a game where you may need to spend 10 minutes just, you know, shoring the defence up and giving them that stability, and someone taking a calm approach and, you know, holding the game together. So, and I think he's kind of brought that over the last sort of few games and so on. Bear in mind, you know, under Conte and Mourinho, he started every game, you know, and he probably deserves a bit of a break and a bit of a rest, and probably could do with being given different options, you know, playing a little bit further forward maybe, because we know he's got a good shot on him, and we know he can pick a pass when he really needs to. So, yeah, again, another player who I think under Ange has really developed and has actually shown improvement. And I think there's a fair few of them who have done that. You know, you only got to reach out and think about Bissouma, who was in no man's land before Ange come. And I know he's gone off the boil a little bit over the last couple of games. He gave away a stupid pass to lead to their third goal, which I'll talk about. But you're going to make mistakes like that, and he can't have a perfect game every game. But I think he's been class this season, and I think he deserves the fan support, if you like. You know, players are going to make mistakes. They are going to have a problem here and there. So again, I think, you know, he's done really well, and you have to look at this, right? So against City, you've got, you know, so many players out that ultimately you're kind of playing with a second string, and to go there and to come away with a credible draw is amazing. So the other one I wanted to call out was Brennan Johnson, who I thought had a great game. His cross for our third goal was you know, superb, and there was a bit in the first half where he was up against a defender and he just put on the afterburners and gone straight past him, and I thought, wow, you know, what pace. I mean, luckily for them, you know, the defender got back and managed to get a block in and stop him making, you know, passing that ball across, because that was really dangerous. But show what pace he's got and what desire he's got to actually get right up there and really show. So again, another player who's been a little bit unlucky with getting injury and then getting oiked off because of a sending off and so on. I think he's one who's going to get better and better and better, and he's only a young guy. Let's not forget. The one for me who kind of disappoints a little bit, well, I thought you know, even though I thought he had a decent enough game, really don't worry me, but I'll get a little bit worried about, I guess, is Brian Hill. Desperately want him to do well, because he looks a really good player, technically good and so on. But for whatever reason, he just doesn't seem to click in the Premier League. and I know people talk about him being lightweight and all the rest of it, but listen, Modric wasn't a giant, so it can be done. I was just watching on Sunday, and there was so many times the ball went out to him on the left, and he misplaced his pass, or he missed the ball, and it kept going out, getting silly throw-ins and stuff like that. And I was like, he just didn't seem to be up to the pace for me, and that worries me. I just, sometimes you just think to yourself, some players just aren't going to work, and it feels like that's the situation for him, which is a real shame because he is a quality player. So yeah, a little bit disappointed from that point of view. But when you look at all of the players, and again, he's coming back from injury, so there may be more to come from him, and he may grow in the games and in the squad. But only time's going to tell about that. But for me, I think he's probably more likely to be successful in Spain or somewhere like that, where they have a little bit more technical players who don't rely on their physicality all the time. And in the Premier League, you're going to come up against, Matty Cash, for instance, who's going to, bite your bum sort of thing. So yeah, I was. He's the one who kind of worried me a little bit. And again, when I look at the game, and you've got Emerson and Ben Davies as your centre backs, and I'm like, wow, and I still can't get my head around the idea of Emerson as a centre back, if I'm honest, because I barely thought he was good enough to be the right back, let alone a centre back. It's a different position, and he loves to do that bit of a Brazilian kind of step overs and that kind of stuff. And I think he's just going to get himself caught out. And there was a couple of occasions where Vicario passed out to him, and I was like, oh my God. But listen, I don't want to shout him. I don't want to shout him out, because at the end of the day, he works hard and he seems a good lad and a good player. But out of position, I'm just not sure that's going to work. So I'm really, really grateful for Romero coming back. I hope that he's learned his lesson from Chelsea, and he kind of has that little bit more restraint in terms of making those stupid tackles or difficult tackles that are gonna cause you that problem. I really want him to think about it a little bit more and be a little bit more, I don't know, trying to get ahead of the game rather than reactive in that kind of scenario. And I guess he needs to be helped by the players around him, I suppose. So, but yeah. So overall, a great result for us after three defeats. And to be fair, out of those defeats, there's only one game where we probably didn't play particularly well against Wolves. But I thought the Villa game we did really well, and just kind of run out of legs. Probably the same for Wolves in the end, running out of legs. Although I didn't think we played particularly well there, and of course the Chelsea game, which which really doesn't reflect what actually happened, how that game panned out, kind of imploded on ourselves. But to get a draw, which wasn't expected. All the pundits are saying we're going to get smashed, in the same way they said we were going to get smashed against the Arse, and we didn't. And we've kind of kept there. We've paid all the so-called big six and done all right, So I don't think we can complain. At the start of this season, I said for me, if we could get into Europe, that would be a massive achievement. The manager has done wonders, worked miracles with some of these players to get them where, playing in the type of football that they are, and really working together and uniting the fan base and so on. It's so good to see, and long may it continue. I just hope that we get that, Daniel Levy gives him that support in the January transfer window to spend a few quid. I'm not looking for absolute superstars and that sort of thing. I'm looking for the right sort of players for the squad and for the team. We need a couple of decent centre backs that can act as, be as good as Romero and Van der Ven. That's what we need. We've got to have that if we're going to go any further forward. I still feel like that we need a backup left back, because when Udogi's out, who we're gonna bring in? It can't be Emerson. It just doesn't feel that he's the right sort of player for that. And I know they talk about Sessegnon coming back, but that kid's played any football for so long. I'm just worried that he's not gonna he's not going to pick it up. And with Reguilon being out at Man United and not really playing, it kind of bothers me a little bit that we haven't got any kind of backup there. And of course, you know, the age-old issue of the striker. Now that we haven't got Harry Kane, where do we go from that? You know, Son's still banging them in. We need the other players to be contributing, which they have been. But it would be great to have an out-and-out striker. And with Villa's being young and only getting a few minutes, and Richarlison really not hitting the ground running, I guess we're just expecting now, has his injury and his operation been a success? Is he going to now start to be the player that we want him to be, or we need him to be? Because as I've said before, some players just don't work at certain clubs, and maybe that's going to be the case for him. I really like him. I think he works really hard for the team, and you have to kind of judge him as a left-sided forward as opposed to a striker, because that's not where he's playing. But even so, I really need him to kind of start banging a few in. So we'll see where it goes. Anyway, I'm rambling on, and I know this is a bit of a long video, so you may have to watch it over 2 or 3 toilet visits. But you know, thanks for watching. I do appreciate it, and I do read all the comments, and I try to respond to them. So thanks for taking the time to watch it, and I'll speak to you all again after the West Ham game. Up the Spurs.